Looks like we are now recording. And here? Yeah, we're recording. Awesome. Okay. Hello. This is Brian, quantlabs.net. We got Mark here, our first guy. Do we call you a protege? For what the HFT shops want? I think you would be.
Not yet, not quite yet. I need some time.
You're well on your way as we talked before. Okay, so why don't you introduce yourself for all the people out there? No, so they know exactly where you're coming from, your background, and we'll talk about where you started and the whole nine yards and where you want to go with yourself.
Sure, sure.
So,
So I am a current financial engineering master's student at NYU Tandon. Um, I started the journey, I guess, of quant finance through my finance undergraduate. I did my finance undergrad in the UK. There, it's a little bit less traditional than the US. You do 3 years instead of four. And instead of, I know the US, they like to delve into various different aspects of like undergraduate education. I know like if you study math, you still have to take English classes. I like the UK because if you're studying finance, you only study finance and that's all you know. And I was really set on that. So I like that aspect and I like the aspect of being able to graduate quicker and enter the job market and see what's available. So in my undergraduate, I fell in love with the subdivision, the finance subdivision of econometrics. I had a great professor who taught this, what seems like a scary subject at first, in like a very intuitive and friendly way. So I ended up actually liking the statistics side of all of this, and that's why I specialized in econometrics for my final dissertation, my research project in my undergraduate, where I forecasted um, real estate. I forecasted London prime office yields and office rents and tied it all together. And after that, during this project, I kind of found my passion for more general quant finance and quant research because this project was very hard. We were giving a lot of data, a ton of data. I think there was like over 3,000 time series. I say a ton now, but in the future I'll probably end up working with a lot more and a lot higher frequencies, so I have nothing to cry about. But it was very tedious, and all my like classmates and people that were doing similar projects were very stressed over this, but I actually enjoyed it, you know. And that's why I decided to pursue more of it. If econometrics is just like one side of quant finance, what else is on? What else is available? So that's why I decided to come to Tandon, to New York.
so the thing is, like, were you always a techie before you got into the undergrad? Like, were you always like the kind of basement kind of programmer sitting on Friday nights and geeking out on a computer and languages, or like I guess that's the first question people are going to come to mind if you got into programming from like at an early age.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Yes, I'm honestly quite new to programming. I've only started fully learning the fundamentals of programming in the beginning of this year, 2024. Um, it, I would also say something similar for math. I wouldn't say I'm a complete newbie in math or anything because I wouldn't be doing quant finance, but relatively, I think that my math background is somewhat plain because the average quant finance student usually comes from a math undergraduate where all they've done is math for the past 4 years,
Yeah.
which is a bit concerning, but it gives me other benefits as well in the sense that I'm more social. I can um, network better. I can kind of connect the math that I'm learning now to previous finance education that I received, and there's a lot of doors that can be opened with it. But yeah, I'm definitely not the traditional kind of quant that is somewhat the stereotype.
So you didn't know about quant before you started your undergrad. You just kind of walked into it in your undergrad and you just kind of heard about it. That's what got you started, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely didn't know about the quant subdivision of finance when I started,
Yeah.
and I know not a lot of people do, not even math majors. And this is like one of the most successful fields that math majors go in after doing their PhDs. So I'm surprised not a lot of people know about it, and it's not very well marketed. But yeah, when I started, I didn't know about it at all. I only came to find out about it when I had to start taking heavy math classes to prepare for my econometrics course, and I was, what is all of this horrible
Yeah.
stuff? And then
Yeah.
I ended up liking it, you know.
So when you opted into my email, just so everyone knows, you just randomly opted in from one of my videos you saw like a week ago. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was you said it was the C plus plus, the $600,000 job thing, this sort of skills I think you need. Like that's become one of my more popular videos in the last few weeks. And oddly enough, I want to say thanks to YouTube. They're gonna send me a free Domino pizza soon. So my first time I ever got something from YouTube in 12 years. Goodness. Anyways, okay, so for you, um, see, the thing is, what I'm really fascinated by you is you're really a self-starter. Like, there's no doubt about it. That's why I tell people if you're young, that's what you got to be to get into this field and really succeed at it. So you chose the Quant Net C++ for financial engineering. Simple, like, how long did it take you to get that, and what inspired you to start taking those kind of programs?
Yeah, so just a brief overview about what that course is. It's essentially an introductory course for C++ programming, which is designed to prepare you for quant finance master's programs. It's a joint program by this website called QuantNet
Yeah.
and the Baruch Masters in Financial Engineering, which is a very, very highly ranked program. And they're usually ranked among top three, if
The
not number
top,
one.
yeah, yeah, usually
Yeah,
top, yeah, for
they
years
win.
too.
They've been winning Rotman every year, so yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
they're big on the quant finance. But yeah, when I started preparing for my master's applications, I realized that I lack the coding acumen that I need to have to succeed, and I need to fill this gap somehow. What is the most effective way? Well, when I was applying, I had a little bit of knowledge in Python and I had a little bit of coding experience in this econometric software called eViews, which isn't all too relevant to be quite honest with you. But I needed to fill this gap, and what better way than to learn the more, I guess, broad language between C++ and Python, which are the most common languages in quant finance, and then apply that to Python later on once I'm ready. So I took on this course. Um, the length of the course, they give you 16 weeks to complete 10 weeks worth of content. The content's divided into 10 little subsectors. And the way it works is the very key of the content is the exercises at the end of the week, which you are graded on. And you do receive help, but it's not the kind of help where you're spoon fed the answer.
Yeah.
It's actually very helpful to actually understand how to code because they give you hints and they give you ideas of how to approach a situation, but they never tell you code like this, code like that, unless like you do the homework and then you meet with them to ask after. But yeah, it's a very great program. I'd recommend a lot of people who seek quant finance masters definitely check it out and probably take it. Yeah.
So I guess I don't know if we've already talked about what inspired you to get in these kind of programs. Was it just because you just were interested in, as you said, going into the quant field, like when you were in the undergrad, or is that
Um,
like what I guess the question is you went in from the undergrad knowing about quant, and then you had this self-starter characteristic in you, and then you just kind of push yourself into the quant net financial engineering with the C plus plus. So I guess that's where I'm asking, like, where does that inspiration come from? Is you just research online and figure out these are the sort of things that you need on your resume, or eventually?
well, honestly, it's more of an internal thing. I want to put myself in the position where in either 2 years' time or 3 or 5 years' time, I'm in a spot where I can use my knowledge to work at the frontier of finance, which I believe is all rooted in mathematics. And the only way to get to that spot is through reinforcing my knowledge very early on. So the more I learn now, the stronger I will be in 2 years. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah. And I guess that's in the second question is, you're now just about to enroll in your first year of the Master in Financial Engineering at NYU
Mhm.
Tandon, right? So what made you pick that program, I guess, in terms from a master's point of view? Like
Mhm.
why NYU? Why not I don't know, like Iowa? I'm not here to offend Iowa, but like you know what I mean? Like you obviously are picking the name brands that will help you on your resume for credibility, I guess.
Mhm. So I could split this into advice for general master's applicants in the quant finance field, and then like tendon specific things. So what I'd recommend most students, it really depends on your background, but you should really see where your strengths and weaknesses are and select a program based on how they deliver the content. So some programs are a lot more rooted in hard mathematics. Other programs are more applied mathematics. Some are more computer science oriented. Some are more this and that. And a great way to research them is actually on QuantNet as well. I think honestly the main thing that QuantNet does is not provide the courses, but they're a forum for ranking and tracking financial engineering master's degrees. So what I'd recommend most people do is apply to all the highest ranking programs if you can. Apply where you think you'd fit, apply where you think you'd get in, and then from that weigh the remaining options based on yourself and how you think you will link there. So why I chose Tandon has the largest cohort size. Um, this means that I'll be able to meet a lot of students, a lot of people that are also pursuing the same thing, have a huge passion for the industry. And I'm the kind of person that thrives off, I guess, teamwork. If I'm in a group of people and we're all working on a C++ code, we're all going to get it done a lot faster and we're all going to learn a lot quicker than if it was two people or if I was alone. Also, Tandon has a huge variety of courses that you can take, and they're on a smaller time basis. So in the end, it's not as much depth, but it's a lot more breadth in terms of what courses you can take and what you can experience in your master's degree. I like that because you kind of get a taste of everything and you can find more of your, I guess, subsector passions
Yeah.
and then fuel that with your own research and really tailor your own knowledge to whatever you want to work in.
Yeah, so like what you said about the collaborative approach on the NYU Tandon, those are the buzzwords that recruiters are wanting to hear, right? Because you're not somebody sitting on your own in the corner somewhere. Like you're
Hmm.
actually wanting to collaborate with a team. Those are the buzzwords that recruiters want to hear and see. So you got your GitHub, and I always tell people that GitHub should be your own repository, should be part of your resume. So you have this
Hmm.
project. I imagine this is part of the project. Your first version, options pricer, QuantNet C++. That was your first presentation or your first project you put on GitHub, right?
Yes, yeah.
And
It's really my first actual real coding project. Yeah.
right, no, but it's useful. There's some people going to find that useful. Is there anything from the Black Scholes? I mean, everybody does it. Everybody and their dog does Black Scholes. Anything unique that you can see yourself applying that could be something different as opposed to the regular YouTubers and other GitHubbers out there will put up a project on Black Scholes, but do you think you might have something that might be unique to apply it to something? That makes sense?
Yeah. Well, that's hard to say. I'm not in a genius quant position yet
Oh, I know
where
that. I know that. I know
I,
that.
I can just build Black-Scholes unique applications on the spot.
Yeah.
But I will say that the very premise of Black-Scholes is also the very premise of financial engineering because Black-Scholes is rooted in the principle of no arbitrage. And essentially, what the Black-Scholes model does, if you rearrange it in one kind of way, is it equalizes two different financial contracts off the principle of no arbitrage, which
Right.
kind of opens the door of doing this for a lot of other financial products and industries. So you really can go far off this one principle, and it does hold most of the time.
Yeah.
because it's human logic. If there is an arbitrage opportunity, it's going to get closed, and this gap has only been closed faster and faster over the recent years due to the development of HFT. So yeah, there's a lot of things that can still be done with Black-Scholes, I think.
So that project that you put up, like, do you see you're gonna build on that at some point, and like maybe add to it when you have the time to do it?
Yes, 100%. So that very first project, the one titled QuantNet, is my actual final project for the QuantNet course.
Yeah.
Theirs is my very first attempt at a pricing algorithm, if you want to call it. It's honestly a bit sloppy and imperfect. It works. It
Yeah.
works. So I
Yeah.
was happy, but
Yeah.
I finished it and I got excellent advice from my TA of how I can improve it. And then over those 2 months later, I ended up studying math. I ended up studying a little bit of Python, and then I came back to it. And I thought, how can I optimize it to what he recommended? So what I did was I added another option class, which was Asian options, to the mix. For those that don't know, Asian options essentially take the average price of the option over a certain given period and price it that way. The way I did that in the code is I actually incorporated a Monte Carlo simulation to simulate that movement. So it's not a perfect price movement, but it is kind of interesting. It's an applied way to price a very unique exotic option.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I added several different interfaces to how a user can actually price on this algorithm. So one could hard code the variables if they wanted to, starting from strike price, spot price, all the way to like numbers of simulations and the Monte Carlo simulation. One could also, there's a much more user-friendly interface where you just type in all the parameters that you need and it comes out with the results. There's one that reads it from file. So if you upload a .txt file, it'll just read everything in that file, output the prices, and then I added one that um, gives out essentially a matrix of option prices with a incremented parameter change. So what this means is essentially if you were to use this method, you could see the change in option price per say $1 increase in spot price.
Amazing. And this is your first real programming project, I guess.
So yeah, it's my improvement of the first real
No,
one.
call me impressed. I think a lot of people feel the same. All right, so I guess you already know your answer, but just want other people to hear it, not just for me. But you do think that C++ plus plus is the clear path for your high-paying career that you're probably after in the world of finance, I guess.
Yes, 100% for the brief answer. But from what I understand and from what I've spoken with among other tandem students and people that are entering the workforce right now, is that there's a pretty big division in quant finance between Python and C++,
Oh, yeah.
where C++ is, like you said, higher paying, but it's a lot more unique because it's strictly applied for HFT, for high frequency trading because of its latency nature. You could do a lot more with C++ than with
Yeah.
Python. Python is more centered towards things like research where you need quick prototyping and you need a quick answer for something. But C++ is really made for those trading algorithms where you need things lightning fast. So
Yeah,
yes, if you're an expert in C++, it's very good.
that's good. Yeah, you already hit the nail on my question about Python. So obviously you're going to add Python to the mix that you already know. Um, outside of C++. But let me ask you something else. There's a lot of traders out there that, let's say, been trading for, I don't know, let's say 30, 50 years or whatever they are, like old school traders. So I don't know if you know about Goldman Sachs. They used to call themselves a bank, but now they call themselves as a technology company. Would you say that's pretty safe to say for a lot of hedge funds and a lot of the big banks are now getting out of the role of being in banks and becoming more technology companies with more technologists in their space of among all their staff, would you say?
Hmm.
Because I know 30% of Goldman are coders, 30% of their total staff. Have
Whoa,
you
is that?
ever? Yeah, yeah, it's pretty high. That's why they're more of a technical company.
You know, now that you mentioned that, the talk of the town on LinkedIn is that hedge funds and high frequency trading has become the new software engineering lately.
Yeah, I
As
can
we see
attest
like
to
a
that.
decline in
Yeah,
the amount of software engineers, they're all rotating
yeah,
to hedge funds and high frequency trading.
yeah,
So that is definitely the case for HFT. But in terms of massive banks like JP Morgan, I think you really got to look at them by team because they're so big, they're so massive. You have
yeah,
HFT divisions in a ton of countries.
yeah.
You really can't like standardize them as a tech company. It's a bit more nuanced.
But you could see that them going kind of in that direction eventually, where it's, I mean, with AI, it's like, to me, it's
In
just
terms of
increased.
trading,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
okay. So I like this, how we're doing this, because the segueing is easy and natural. So my next question is, Um, okay, so how are you finding, because I know you were trying to find apprenticeships and internships in the different banks, but are you applying to any name brand firms like an HFT operation or a hedge fund that you can kind of speak of?
Um,
Mhm.
it's in the plans. Right
Okay.
now is just the very beginning. The application cycles have just opened. I think, well, not just opened. It's already been 2 or 3 weeks since they opened. They open a month earlier every year.
Yeah,
But
well, I'm
yeah.
just, but like walk us through what you're going through. Like how does it work? Like you get an opportunity where they put you into some kind of boot camp sort of environment, and you have to come up with a coding project within a certain amount of time. Is that how it kind of works on the recruiting side?
So for actual recruiting, the way it works is first you simply submit a resume, fill out an application,
Yeah,
and then to most applicants, they would send out a test. This is usually in the form, it depends what kind of quant role you're going for,
yeah.
but it's usually a math test or a coding test, if not both. There, the math test, I know I recently got sent one out. It's 80 questions, 8 minutes, just speed computation.
Is is that on a on like you get a session on online, and you're booking a time, and they put you in front of an online session, you get like X amount of minutes to answer all the questions, is one of those kind of deals?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's on a server called HackerRank. There
Okay.
you log in and you take the test. Yeah, and
Wow.
it's very quick computations. You have to be very good with numbers. On top of that, you also have to be very good with code.
Yeah.
It's really everything all in one. And then if you make it past the actual testing phase, usually you start being invited to in person, or it's usually phone call first or video call first
Yeah.
interviews
Yeah.
with different members of the team. And the farther you go through the recruitment process, the higher the seniority of the team member
Yeah.
interviewing
Yeah.
you. So if you actually manage to get pretty far, you'll be interviewing with pretty serious people at the firm,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you have to be ready to answer behavioral questions, very tricky math puzzle
Yeah.
questions. And these tests are designed for you to not know what's coming. So
Yeah.
there is no one size fits all rule to answering these questions. They will make a question on the spot. That's how difficult they are.
Yeah.
You really just have to have, I guess there's no other way to put it, but talent with these things to do
Yeah.
really good.
So have you gotten as far to that level yet that you can speak of the actual experience, or like I've never like my time, I'm 55, so I'm an old fossil. We just send a resume in, and you do a couple of questions and you get a job. Here, I
Mm.
guess because it's just, I don't know. This is my next question, my last question. But have you gone through the process of going through the testing and then finally get past that and then actually talking to real people? Um,
I am I'm on that very first step.
okay,
So
okay.
as of now, it's July.
Yeah.
Usually they
So,
open in July,
yeah,
and you would be taking tests all the way
gotcha,
through the end of August,
gotcha.
and then in September
Okay.
you'd start those in-person
So it's more
interviews.
exploratory right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So from how you feel about it, because I know, like, I'm in Toronto, Canada. We're getting a lot of people coming in from overseas, and the job application process right now for any job in coding they say anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 people. So the competition is really fierce. It's dropped down the pay scales. Do you feel like if you research that you're finding that there's that kind of stiff competition when you're going through, you send out a generic resume, you get a test. Do you know if you could be up against a lot of people for one position or
Oh yeah, yeah, you're up
yeah,
against a lot of people, a lot of people.
yeah,
I come from a finance background, so I can kind of speak on a comparable, really competitive industry, which was
yeah,
investment banking. Investment banking, you'd get a ton of applicants for a very few roles from business degrees. And the barrier to entry is probably medium level. You know, you need to have some good internships, you need to have good Excel skills, and you need to have good social skills. If you can prove that, and if you get through all the interviews, you should be okay.
so
Quant
that
finance,
go ahead.
yeah, sorry. Quant
No,
finance is a little bit of a different story because now the barrier to entry is a lot higher, a
yeah,
lot higher.
yeah,
And not only are you applying as a graduate student, but there are other people in undergraduate who have studied pure math who are very, very smart applying against you or with you against you, whichever way you want to look at it. There's also PhD students that are applying, which are people with 5 years more experience than you in
yeah.
this field for these same roles, for the very high paying HFT roles. So it's extremely competitive. It's probably one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive industry in the world, I would say. You
Yeah,
really have to be on your A game.
but don't forget, there's one other class of people that are of all the experienced people that are coming from these firms already, and they're getting laid off as well. So now they're going in the market applying for the same position. So it's even more fierce now, because now you have to compete against these folks who have the same level of expectation, the same level of experience, and are fresh off of some job over the last couple of months or maybe in the last year. So it's really, really hard, I imagine. I'm not here to discourage anyone, but that's why we have somebody like you to like my last question is how would you, as a tip for people, what things can you suggest that they can sort of make it known that they have the initiative? Like what sort of things can they do to make themselves known and get the attention of these recruiters or whoever's doing the hiring? Like what would you
Mm-hmm.
suggest for people?
Well, the what I would suggest personally would be to try to tailor yourself as much as possible to the specific quant role that you're going for.
Right.
So if it's quant research, do research on something you're really passionate about. And you actually have to be passionate about this. You can't just be doing it for the money because that's going to be evident very fast. You're going to get laughed out of the office for what you're doing, to be honest. But what is the most effective, from what I've gathered over the past year or so, is that a lot of firms are looking for people that are very good at math and nothing else because they want to teach them their finance strategies at the firm. So what usually helps a lot, is winning math competitions.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't possible for everyone. I don't know if it's possible for me. I haven't tried yet, but it's something that's very hard. If you look up mathematical Olympiads, you could kind of get a bit of a taster of what kind of questions you're in for, of what you
Yeah.
should probably know to do good in these. And they're extremely hard, and you're going against some of the smartest people in the world. But if you
Yeah.
win one of those, that really sets you apart a lot.
Sure.
Things like this, trading competitions, different projects I mentioned. There's also the degree, obviously, that you're doing, what you're undertaking, how mathematical is it, how good is your coding experience. There's a lot of things that can set you apart. But one thing I like about quant finance is they're more real and they're more technical. You can't get very far through referrals and other sorts of nepotism in this
Yes, that's
industry.
true.
It's
That's
it's
true.
very
Yeah. It's
serious.
very true. Yeah. So I guess that comes down to because if you look at like somebody's GitHub repository, what they'll do is they'll fork a project and then do a couple of modifications to it and then submit their resume saying, "Ha, I'm a great quant," and then that's per their application. But what I'm been saying for the last number of weeks is like it's more than that. You have to do what you're doing. You have to code something from scratch and you show the initiative that you have to be able to like set yourself apart, as you said, and go beyond that. I think one of the other things I could recommend, I mean, this is a big thing to suggest, is to build a little platform or build a trading bot and go out and start live trading, and get a third party verified account. You can show these recruiters that you not only have the passion, but you're an actual live trader. That's what I'm thinking now. And not only that, but people need to remember that you're bringing in, as a resource into these firms, that you have to show that you're going to bring value to the company, you're going to bring additional revenue for the firm, because you've now proven that you're a successful trader. I don't know if that you would agree with or not, but it's a big enchilada that people have in order to be a cut above everybody else. So
Hmm.
I don't know, but it for you, it comes down to time, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's so much to do, and you can only do so much in the amount of
Yeah.
time that you
But
have.
would you say you're living and breathing this quite literally? Like every waking moment, you're involved in something on the finance front, or on the education front? Would you say? I mean,
Yeah, to be honest with you, because I think I had a pretty big gap to fill.
yeah,
Because I can't remember who exactly said this, but this was a saying in the quant area that for a finance undergraduate, it would take a year to catch up on the math required for quant finance. For a
right.
math undergraduate, it would take
Yeah,
a week to catch up for
yeah.
the finance aspect of that stuff.
Have you looked at books like Paul Wilmot? I mean, he's kind of like the godfather of all the quant books out there. He's got the three book series, like 1,800 pages or something.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just spitting stuff out here just to help people understand what I would recommend, but obviously it's something just to see if you'd buy into that as well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's one of the first books that I read on quant finance. It was frequently asked questions in quant finance. I suggest anyone that's like eyeing the
yeah.
industry should read that first and see if they can follow it, and if they're really passionate about what they're reading. If they like it and they can follow it, then I'd suggest they start delving more into it. But
So
that's really
so
like a taster for a yes or no if you want to pursue this
yeah,
or not.
exactly. Well, yeah, everyone wants their more digits on their paychecks. We don't blame them for that. But the question is, I've looked at this field of that there's three aspects that you have to have. You have to be in the computer science, mathematician slash physics, and trading. Which would you say out of those three would be the most important at where you're at right now?
For
It's not it. It's just remember, it's not an interview question, right? It's just to think about, what do you think the most important out of those three?
I would say what you use most in most of the quant jobs would be the math component,
Okay.
except for developer jobs. There it would be
Yeah.
computer science.
Yeah.
And it's also very common that computer science majors go into the subsector of quant development without any
Yeah.
finance knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
The,
the other thing I find to move up in a firm and stay in a firm to get the really big, like going from half a million to a million plus, you have to either be like beyond a genius like Einstein level, or you got to be able to take on projects, like special projects that they may give you, where you're basically pitching a tent under your desk, or that you take leadership roles and you're going to start managing two or three people. So those are the
mm,
ways I see how people move up the ladder in these firms. And as I said, because you're now bringing in more value into the firm, and you're bringing in more, not just more value, but you're adding more or bringing in more revenue for the firm as well.
mhm.
So that's what I'm thinking. But I've always said, I think out of those three skills, that the trading's the real big one, because that's what they're primarily after. It's not just being able to say, yeah, I like trading, but to show it that you spent 6 months or a year of some kind of track record that really sets you apart, or going to those trading competitions. Because I think once they see that with all the other skills, they'll say, here's the door, come on in, and here's your pay package, and off you go, right? You got a good job. So yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it really depends on the firm. It really depends how
yeah,
technical they
yeah,
are,
yeah.
because they might have insane math requirements for what they're doing.
That's true. That's
If
true.
they're market making, then no matter how much trading you did, you still need some real strong math
Yeah,
fundamentals.
yeah, yeah. That's my big weakness. I'm like 2 + 2 = 5. So Anyways, I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's already half an hour, man. Like, I just want to salute you for what you're doing, to be honest. You're a rare breed. And you've inspired me to say, hey, let's do this video, get you on board. You're a real face, real name. You got a real GitHub. You're going into now your next stage of masters. And let people see this. You live and breathe it. People see it, and that you're on your way to do really well in life. I just sense it coming from you. And the best part is, like, you're not like, I won't say you've not shown any sign of ego whatsoever. Like, you're a really humble guy, and that's also so critical now for these firms. They don't want some person that's going to be like some drama queen. Oh, well, I want my Fridays off and you know what I mean? It's just you don't show any of those sort of signs, which is another thing. But I just wanted to say thanks for doing this, man. It's such a huge thing to see because, like, man, you don't know how I feel, like, just talking to you and just now being able to showcase it on YouTube and let people see these are the real requirements, and you're in the early stages of where you're at.
Thank you very much. It means a lot.
Yeah, and the
Thank
thing
you.
is, I want to say thank you for sticking your neck out too, because the other thing is you got some big kahunas to be able to stick your neck out, and that's what it takes to get yourself on a public camera, put yourself online, and just that's the sort of thing these firms want, is the initiative, and that's what's really sets you apart. Really sets you apart. You got all the skills, dude. You got all of them.
Thank you. I'd hope so. I'd hope
I
so.
I just live in. I really feel it in my bones for you. I think you're gonna go really far. You're gonna go amazingly far. Anyways, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add for the YouTubesters out there that may watch this?
Um,
Any tips that you could add? Any unique pointers or words of wisdom, as they say?
I would say don't believe everything you see online about finance and quant finance. Really do
Yeah,
your research about this industry, about what it really is,
yeah,
about what the real things that you need to know are. Because I know there's a lot of people selling. There's always ads on Instagram where they try
yeah.
to
I
sell
was
you
gonna
some
say, or
HFT
TikTok and all that.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not what this is. You really should check things out for yourself first, do some really deep
yeah,
research and understand it. And for those that are passionate in it, I'd also say go full speed
yeah.
ahead.
Full throttle. Yeah, exactly. Yo, man, this is good. Hang on here. Hang on here.